of Jesus. Every soul that has lost hope in this land, every soul that has thought that there is no way for them in this land, Father, we pray as you shall be using your daughter this evening. Father, we pray you shall speak. Father, every one of us, at the end of this program, we shall have the cause to glorify your holy name. Thank you for answering our prayers. Thank you because you've taken over the program. Thank you because at the end of the program, all glory will be to you and only you alone. In Jesus' mighty name, we have prayed. Amen. 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 In Jesus' name.
Gracias. Okay.
I'd just like to thank everyone once again for joining us this afternoon stroke evening. Thank you. I'd like to thank those on Facebook, those that are also on YouTube today. Thank you. Just a quick one on what we actually do. So we're the King's House Mission, and we are a charity outreach, nonprofit outreach, trying just to help, was formed just a few months ago, just trying to help those that are vulnerable in our community. And through that, it's kind of extended to an empowerment program also. So not just helping those that are vulnerable, those that are needy, providing care packages for those that are in need in the community. It's been extended to providing empowerment programs for those that need it. So at the moment, we organize empowerment programs to provide information, either for work or as we're doing today, immigration issues. Information is key, as we know, and a lot of wrong information has been passed around. Therefore, people don't know what they're entitled to or what they could, what they could do, the potentials that they have. And this is what we're trying to help people in the community with. I'd like to thank Ms. Jenkins once again and her team for joining us today. And that's it from me. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm just going to hand over to the anchor. You're on mute.
Thank you so much, Sisani-san. That was a beautiful sort of overview of what we do. It's been an amazing journey. It's only been for a few months, but we thank God for, his faithfulness and how far he's brought us and, how much we want to continue to do. So we pray that God will continue to guide us and teach us in the way to go. I'd like to now introduce Mrs. Jenkins. She is, I want to get it right, she is the Home Office National Community Engagement Lead. And I believe she also works with the immigration enforcement team within the Home Office. I've met her one-to-one. I've been in, some of, the places that she's been to and some of the times where she's spoken to people. And I know that it's been really informative and a lot of people have taken the right steps in the right direction. So I hope that you all get something from it today. I know that she'll be talking about quite a lot of things. If there is a specific area that you were not able to email us or to send us a message about what you would want her to talk about, you may still contact us. Our contact information is on Facebook. We will also give you our direct contact before the end of today. So, Mrs. Jenkins, over to you. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. Good evening, everyone. Is that thumbs up? Yes, you can hear me?
Yes.
Good. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me. Let me say thank you to Prophet Ayo JC for this opportunity to have this conversation, especially during this period where everybody is, what is it now? Social distancing. We're missing all the face-to-face contact that we should be having, but you know what? It's for the best. Just for those who don't know me or who haven't heard me speak, Yes, my name is Yemisi Jenkins. It's Miss Yemisi Jenkins, so but please call me Yemisi. I work in the immigration enforcement part of the Home Office. Yes, you got that right. And I am the National Community Engagement Lead for Nigeria and other African countries in the Home Office. So what that simply means is that I interface on behalf of the Home Office in the community, raising awareness, engaging with the community, trying to give the right information so that people can make informed decisions rather than having to rely on they said, he said, she said. And we know that information is key in whatever we do. So it is very, very important that we always seek to get the right information. So let me just state it clearly here that I will not be advising anyone. And the reason being that I work for the Home Office. Advising you will be a conflict of interest. But what I will be doing is pointing people in the right direction. Yeah, there's a clear difference between that. Pointing people in the right direction so that they can seek the help or the advice that they need. I'm sure you would agree that as a Home Office staff, if I give you advice and something goes wrong, then you can hold Home Office responsible, and we don't want that. So what I'm going to do today is, yes, I've got some questions here, I think about 10 or 11 questions. I will try and go through them, but before I go through them, I'll just do a general talk about immigration. Yes, when we talk about immigration, it's a very, very sensitive topic that a lot of people would rather not have. But at the same time, it's rather unfortunate that we have a lot of people in situations where they are here and for some reason they have overstayed their visas. A lot of people will leave whatever country, Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Jamaica, Caribbean, whatever country, coming here to seek either economic migrants, or some would come to study, and then getting here, things happen, and we all know that. Unfortunately, some people have been given the wrong advice that has gotten them that has made their situation worse. Some had very straightforward cases that all they needed to do was go to the appropriate websites, read, get information, and submit the application. But for some reason, somebody will come from somewhere and give them some interesting advice, and that has messed people's application up. So I say to people, please, if you want to seek advice from anyone, is either you go to solicitors or you go to immigration advisors. When people, your families, your church members, when they try and tell you this is how I did mine, trust me, they never tell you the full story. They only share with you what you want to hear. So easily you would say, oh, Mr. A did his own, submitted his application, and he got through. Trust me, I've been on this job for too long to know and to say to people, please do not, when they tell you, yes, I'm not saying don't listen to them, take it, but do not base your own application or whatever it is you're going through what you have been told, because you would find out that there are some key information or key things that would have happened to them that would have either helped or been a hindrance in their application. So it is very key for people to listen to what people are saying with a pinch of salt, but then sit down and look through your own case. I say to people, I'm a Christian. Now, the Bible is my guide, right? When it comes to immigration matters, gov.uk is your Bible, is your immigration Bible. I say to people that there is nothing you're looking for There is nothing your lawyer has access to that you don't have access to. The only difference between you and lawyers and solicitors, and I'm not, spoiling, markets for lawyers and solicitors. No, I'm not. But what I'm saying is, I always say to people that take the time to go through the information on gov.uk. It doesn't cost you anything. So that even when somebody is giving you a bad advice, you can quickly pick it up and say, no, I've read it. But because a lot of solicitors and lawyers know that whatever it is they give to people, and bearing in mind that these people are vulnerable, so whatever it is they're told, they get sucked into it and they believe it. So for me, it's more like exploiting their vulnerability, right? So please, go, if you don't have if you don't have any link or any information, just type in gov.uk, type in immigration, type in whatever it is, it will come up with answers. These are the things that lawyers and solicitors have access to as well. Beyond that, they don't have access to anything in the Home Office. They don't. The only other thing that works for them is experience, because they would have dealt with so many cases over the years, and they can infer from these cases. So this helps them, and they have the time to sit down and go through all these documents. And yes, somebody said to me, it can be daunting. You go there, you're looking for one thing. But what I said to people is devote time to look for this information. They're all there. The other thing I'm going to talk about is modern slavery, human trafficking. We have quite a lot of people who unfortunately are victims. They don't even know they're victims of modern slavery. There's also a lot of, the government has done a lot of campaign. It's zero tolerance. I tell people, both people who have been accused of enslaving people and the victims, to say, please keep your records. When you example, a lot of people in the Nigerian household will probably have grown up with what we call house helps, and the way they are treated back home. I'm sorry, you cannot bring somebody to the UK and treat them like that. It is not that is servitude. No two ways about it. And it's, where you employ someone, there is no contract of, starting time, there's no break. You work 24/7, 7 days a week. You don't have a life. That you can't do that in the UK. I am sorry. Even in Nigeria, it is not acceptable, but it is just unfortunate that a lot of people get away with that. So please, when you're bringing somebody in, the government is not saying you cannot, but what they're saying is you make sure that you do the right thing, i.e. you have a contract with them. There's a starting time and a finishing time. They have where to sleep, not your kitchen or the floor, or you just create something somewhere in your house for them to sleep in. They don't have break. You don't let them go out. They're in your house 24/7. Cleaning. If they're not cleaning, they're cooking. If they're not cooking, they're looking after your children. If they're not, they're doing one thing or the other, and they don't have a life. So please, you see, I said to people that we need to start looking out for one another, because think about it. If your daughter, your brother, your uncle, your mother was in that situation, wouldn't you want somebody to help them? Wouldn't you want somebody to report that? And we see them. I mean, I've heard stories of, families where they take their help to church, and it is glaring that there's a glaring distinction between the way they speak to this person, and everybody sees it, but we turn the blind eye. So please, if you see such, I beg you, because look at that person and think of that person as your sister, your brother, your mother, or your relative, that if they were in that situation, would you want somebody to reach out and pick up the phone and just call? It's a free toll number, which I will give out later. to help them out. I also like to talk about, interestingly, what is happening now, Black Lives Matters, lack of ethnic minorities at senior levels across both private and public service. I say to people, you have to be at the party, you have to be at the table to be part of the party. I usually encourage people to join the civil service. It is pretty much straightforward, because if we don't have them at a particular grade, then there's no way they can move up. And I usually say to our younger ones, maybe those who have just left uni, there's a lot of there's a lot of programs. There's Fast Stream. There's there's internship also particularly for Black ethnic minorities as well across the civil service. And I think that one usually comes out around either January and August. So don't quote me on that, but it's there. If you just type in Black, I don't like you to use the word BAME. I can't stand the word BAME. So I usually use Black, Asian, and ethnic minorities. Just type it, internship in civil service. And I say to people, please register on civil service jobs so you can get alerts. As of today, DWP is looking for 1,000 people. Let me repeat that. DWP, Department for Works and Pension, have just put out an advert for 1,000 people to apply. It's a 12-month contract. If you're based in London, I think it's about £31,000 for the year. So for those who are looking for jobs, they will train you. Please visit gov.uk. You know what? I'll send the link. I'll send the link to Prophet Ayo, and then he can then share and post. But that if people are, and I usually say to people, please, if people are struggling to complete civil service application, there are a few of us that are willing to help to support people to go through the application process. Right? What else have I left? COVID. Yes, COVID has affected a lot of people, and some people have come on a visit, and unfortunately, because of the air restriction, they've not been able to travel back. Now, I received, in fact, even yesterday, I still got a call. Oh, what do I do? Sorry, you can't just say because COVID is there and then you don't do anything. I think there's a lot of announcement, a lot of information were put out. I think as far back as March about what people need to do. All that you're required to do is go to say gov.uk, type in COVID, and you just fill in a form where you let the Home Office know that you're here. Because, some people, if somebody, let's take, for example, somebody came in March or April. April is still, you came in April, we know that people couldn't travel, couldn't return to their home country. So most likely, even if you have, most likely you would have spent more days than you should have. So please visit gov.uk. Just type in COVID on Google. Type in immigration and then COVID. It will bring out a form. Some people who applied earlier were given, extension up until I think it's 30th of July. So please, I would strongly advise people to do that. Don't just say, oh, well, there's no plane going back to my country, so, I'm not going to do anything. Please, don't do that. Follow the instruction and just submit it. I purposely went onto the website, and I don't think it will take you, I think it's taking less than 5 minutes to just complete that and send off, and that's it. And I think the first extension was 30th of May. Now, if you had submitted for 30th of May, and they've now extended it again to 30th of July. So if you submitted 30th of May, there is no need for you to submit again, because we already have that record that you're still here. Does that make sense? So please share that. What else have I not covered before going into, how do you want it, moderator? Do you want me to go through the questions that were sent and then take some questions online? What do you want to do? How do you want to play it?
I think it'd be great if people could ask their questions alongside you answering this question. So if we go with one of the questions we've been sent already, and then see if there are any questions from people on Zoom at the moment, and then we go back to the second question of yours. So almost like alternating between both.
Right. I think I've answered number one.
Okay. Yes.
The first, yeah. You know what? Do you guys have a process where people can send you messages privately? Because and rightly so, nobody wants to share their business with everyone. Yeah. So I would expect that that the organizers have a safe space for people to ask questions privately, and that then you don't have to read out the person's name, just share whatever it is they're asking.
Yeah.
Right. So I think I've answered of the questions that were sent to me. The first one says, what are the options for those that have, for some reason or another, remained in the UK after the expiration of their visa? Now, this person has not put COVID, right? Now, if you have stayed beyond your visa because of COVID, please you can still do it tonight, go to the website and register. But I'm conscious that this person has not put COVID. So I'm going to answer that question as if there was no COVID, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if for any reason you have overstayed your visa, yeah, let me read it properly. I'm not wearing my glasses. Apologies. I think it's upstairs. What are the options? Don't worry, I'll read it. What are the options for those that have, for some reason or another, remained in the UK after the expiration of their visiting visa? Now, the question I would ask is, is the intention to go back? Now, what was the reason? Some people would come and fall ill and may not be able to go back. Now, when people come, I say to people, if anybody comes and for any reason you fall ill, just pick up the phone and call the Home Office and say to them, you came on a visit, and unfortunately you've taken ill. This is your details, blah, blah, blah. They will take it and then they will note it down. Now, once you overstay over 30 days, you become what they call an overstayer. Now, it is not the end of the world, right? But we usually encourage people that even when you become an overstayer, you see, this is where it then ties in, because what happens, like I said at the beginning, that some people will say, they're coming on holiday, some people have come to study, and then things happen and they want to then stay back. The challenge is when they want to do it illegally, and then they get into a situation which then becomes beyond them, and then they become victims of exploitation. And then people begin to exploit them, knowing fully well that they do not have the right to be here. And they then, they threaten them with things like they will report them to the police. Some people even employ them and start paying them way below minimum wage, which is exploitation. So you see that all these things, somehow they're interlinked. You come thinking you want to stay here for a month. Something happens, you overstay. You then fall into hard times. To keep body and soul together, somebody offers you a job. Offering you a job, everybody knows what's the minimum wage. I think it's about £8 or so. But somebody then offers you £2.50, knowing fully well that you will not complain. That is exploitation. And you can report that person. And some people think, because I'm here, yes, okay, yes, you have overstayed, but then it does not give the other person the right to then exploit you. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I usually say to people, please, when you find yourself in this situation, where you have overstayed. When you find yourself in a situation where you have done everything possible, legally possible, to rectify your papers to stay in this country, please pick up the phone. And I usually joke and say to people, well, I don't joke about it, it's not a joke, it's real. I said to people that I am from the part of, immigration enforcement, but I am from the community engagement team. And what we're there to do, we're there for the community, for people to come and speak to us. People, for example, this situation that I've just described now, and then we'll sit down and say, okay, you have overstayed, that is fine. And we'll say, what do you want to do? Some people will say, I want to go back home, right? And we support them to return home voluntarily with dignity and respect. And let me explain that. When you go home voluntarily, that means you can travel like any other person on the plane. And some people say, oh, who wants to return to Nigeria? Trust me, people are returning to Nigeria voluntarily. People that have been here for years, they've tried everything to regularize their papers and it has not worked. People have actually returned back to Nigeria, and people have actually started a good life in Nigeria. I have a case study that I always share with people. A few years back, I came in contact with a young lady who had come to study, and then she got bad advice, and her case, a pretty straightforward case, was messed up due to bad advice. And luckily, she got a very fantastic lawyer who referred her to me to say, come and speak to me. And then I said, you know what do you want to do? The options, luckily, the lawyer had told her the truth and said, you know what, looking at this case, there is no way they're going to grant you. So the best thing is for you to go home. So I was not the one telling her to go home. She made up her mind to go home with the support of her lawyer. Don't forget that some lawyers, because you pay, they rely on your money. So they will continue to tell you, oh, we'll submit this for you. We'll submit this for you. We'll submit this for you. By the time you sit down and calculate how much you have spent, some people, I can tell you for free, people have spent up to £30,000 and nothing has come out of it. Hear me right? 30,000 pounds, and nothing came out of it. Eventually, they said, you know what, I've had enough, I am going home. Now, let me go back to the story of this young lady. So we then worked together to support her to go home voluntarily. When she got back to Nigeria, she went to Port Harcourt, and then she started engaging with the Mende Port Harcourt boys, the Mende boys, I think that's what they're called. And she started some sort of motivational talk event in Nigeria. Now, this girl, if you want to book her for your motivational talk, if you want to invite her, you have to book for her to attend your event. She started working with people who didn't have jobs, linking them up with organizations. But, she looked at the situation because that is her passion as well. So she decided, you know what, I would go back and turn things around. And the benefit of going home voluntarily is that the restriction ban on her, I think when she went, because another thing is some people would say, you know what, I want to go home, but I don't have finance. So on individual basis, there is support by the Home Office, as in financial support. The one that is quick is, we'll buy. Some people say, you know what, I don't have money to buy my tickets. Can you sort that out? And yes, we'll buy people's tickets. Some people will say, you know what, I don't have any money. When I get home, there's nothing for me. I need to resettle, blah, 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 blah. Depending on individual cases, we will look at it and do the needful for individuals. So yes, when you have overstayed, it is not the end of the world. Do not let people exploit you. Go and get or speak to a good lawyer, not the one that will not tell you the truth, not the one that just wants your money and continue to tell you some ridiculous things to present for application. Meanwhile, because you are not informed, because you have not read what the criteria is, in gov.uk, you will then take on board what the solicitor is telling you. There are some times you look at the case and you say to yourself, yes, I have a case. And yes, you have a case. And there are times you look at it and say, it's a bit tricky. You understand? But don't get me wrong. Even there are sometimes when you look at it and you say it's a bit tricky, depending on the mitigating factors that you're able to present to the Home Office. We don't have crystal ball to decide that this is what you want. You would have to provide that information to us to say, these are the mitigating factors and these are the reasons why I want you to consider to grant me leave to remain in the UK. Something just popped up in my head now. Windrush. Let me just quickly talk on Windrush. So I think I've answered that question as to the fullest.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Now
we've had another 5 more questions aside from the 10.
Okay. Well, no, that's fine. If I cannot answer it, I'll tell you. Even some of this, because some of the questions you sent, because I got them on Monday, and getting some of my colleagues who work in that area to answer the questions, I couldn't. So I would still have to come back to you once I get the official response to those questions, not just questions that you pick up, because as a representative of the Home Office, I can't just be saying picking things from the air. It's got to be official response. So some of these questions I would have to come back to you. But that's fine. But quickly, let me just talk about Windrush. I don't know if a lot of you watched Sitting in Limbo, and when Windrush broke, a lot of people thought it only applied to people from the Caribbean. Can I tell you now that, please, it is not only about people from the Caribbean, right? If a lot of our parents came here in the 60s and got their indefinite leave to remain, some then went home. Some of you may or may not be familiar about, if you have indefinite leave to remain and if you're out of the country for 2 years, lose it. Now, a lot of families pre-1973 would have been here. They have worked, have bank accounts, have NI, have evidence of being here. Please, if you know anyone or if your parents were here around that time, even if they're dead, there's what is called the Windrush Compensation Scheme that people can actually apply for. I would also, and we've been having We've been having events. We've been having We've been having online events for the community where people can actually dial in. We had one on the 1st of July. What I'll do is I will share the next dates with either Motorayo, right? Or Prophet Ayo. You can just dial in. Even I said to people, even if it is just ask questions, because it's either yes or no. And the beauty of that online event is you will have direct access to our task force officers who would be online. And then you can take their details and write to them directly, because don't forget that no 2 stories are going to be the same. So please, if your parents or if you know anyone, and trust me, yes, people in Nigeria, even elderly people that have returned to Nigeria, they have been granted, they have been considered, their case has been looked at and considered as Windrush. They fall under the Windrush and, granted indefinite leave to remain. And what then happens, I think the thing is they then, depending on, some people have then decided, they want to come back to the UK for reasons best known to them. So please, that is also there for people to look into. But it's not only, I can't re-emphasize enough, it's not only about the Caribbean, it is also about it also impacts on Commonwealth citizen, and Nigeria is a Commonwealth citizen.
Okay.
Right. Next.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We've had a few more questions. So if I just asked from the people online at the moment, and then we'll go back to the questions that we had from last week. So two questions are sort of linked, and the two are to do with children. One is a child that was born abroad, but at the age of 2, moved with his or her family to the UK, and the child's been here since the age of 2, and the child is 10 now. And the other part of that is for children who were born here in the UK, have parents who don't have a legal right to be in the UK, but they are 10 years old already. What are the chances of those children either getting a citizenship or getting some sort of settlement in the UK? Are there any rights at the moment? What are the rules?
Children that are born in the UK, irrespective of if your parents are here legally or not, by age 7, the parents can actually apply for them. But usually I say to people that, so people use the, I think they call it the 7-year rule. I don't know, that is not an official whatever. I think that is something that we coined. But yes, once your child is 7, was born in the UK, even if you are here illegally, but was born in the UK and has lived in the UK up until age of 7, the parents can actually apply. But once they are 10 years old, automatically they get, the parents can apply for their British, for their kids to be British nationals, right? And then you can then take it up from there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Once you're 10, you were born, and please, not that you were born here, right? And then you take them away for 5 years and then bring them back and say they're 10 years old. No, be in the country for 10 years. Once they're age 10, all this is not, it is not a secret. It's, if anybody online, just type in children born in the UK, blah, 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 gov.uk, 10 years old, lived here for 10 years. And then another thing is, when children are brought here and they have lived, or anyone, if you've lived more than half of your life in the UK, does that make sense? If you've lived, for example, let's say I came in at age 10 or age 5, right? And I'm now 20. I have lived more than half of my life in the UK, isn't it? Yeah. Then that is also a basis for you to apply. Like I said, I'm going to be saying a lot of refer to gov.uk here tonight.
Okay.
Right?
All right, wonderful.
Refer to gov.uk for more information.
Thank you so much. The next question, going back to the questions that you had from before, is regarding what support is available for migrants with no residency permit in terms of like housing or like welfare. For example, with regards to COVID-19, I know that the government is doing a lot with homeless people. So making sure that, to sort of like silence spreaders, to make sure that that's being covered and that doesn't happen. So they're being housed temporarily. What is happening to migrants who have housing issues in this time? What support is available?
Right. As you would know, housing is not within the remit of the Home Office. It's the local authority. The Home Office does not provide housing. We're not local. I would say to the people, please go to your local authority, and because the government actually made funds available to local authorities in April due to COVID-19 to support all homeless people, including those who do not have recourse to public funds. The Home Office, it is not within the remit of the Home Office to provide housing for people who are homeless. So that's not that's out of our own remit.
Yeah, okay, wonderful. So thank you so much for that. The next question from somebody online at the moment is regarding, so he came on a visit to the UK. He should have left on the 30th of March, but due to the lockdown and travel restrictions due to the pandemic, was unable to return. He applied, his visa expired on the visiting visa expired on the 14th of April. He had it extended up until the 31st of July. But he said in his explanation that he feels it's still unsafe to go back. So can he reapply in some sort of way? I know you've talked about it, but can he reapply to have an extension?
Well, now everybody can, what was the word? Read the later part where you said the person feels it is still not safe. Now, it is not about the person deciding. If the airspace is open, right, and people are traveling back and forth, I will struggle to see how that would be a justification for the individual to say it is not safe when other people are traveling back to their country. But if you said the person has been granted till end of May, 30th of May, and that would automatically, yes, because, in fact, what I thought you were going to say, because I was initially scared, was that the person did not say anything, and I was like, oh my God, no. But, luckily the person did, which is fine. So after 30th of July, it is, I don't know what the government will say. I don't know what is going to happen in Nigeria. I don't know what's going to, in terms of, people traveling to Nigeria and the safety of that. So I would say, just wait and see, and let's see how it pans out. But I do not have that authority. It's above my pay grade to say that, it is safe or it is not safe. We would all have to wait for the government to decide on that.
Okay. Thank you so much. I hope that that person has understood clearly what you said. Thank you so much. The next question is about students in the UK at the moment studying. Are they permitted to run a business whilst they're studying, or even once they finish their studies in the UK?
Funny enough, there was something I was going to share. Where did I put it? I will send that, because there was something I was reading before I came online about the hours, pre-COVID, the restriction on the number of hours that students are allowed to do. Just bear with me. I will. Yes. No, that's not what I want. Right. And, this is again back to gov.uk. It clearly states there. And I'm reading, this is why I said, everybody has access to this. What it says here is, where is it? You can apply from the UK to, no, that's not what the question is about. Students working for, that is NHS. Yeah, but there's something about it on gov.uk. If I don't find it before the end of this conversation, I will send it to you. But, the restriction, I think they relaxed the restriction on how many hours they can do because of the impact of COVID. Okay. Like I said, if I don't find it before, because I probably saw it and I was like, oh yeah, this is it. I'm sure people would ask question about this.
Okay, all right, that'd be useful, and we can forward it on to that person that's asking. Thank you so much. The next question would be about the civil service jobs that you talked about applying for. Yeah. Someone's asking a question. She applied previously and failed the assessment online, the assessment test. Is she able to reapply and redo
you know what? You can apply as many times as you want. Okay. All I say to people is, please register on civil service jobs, then you get a lot. You can filter it down so much so that the job that you're interested in will then, when something is posted under that job description, you get an alert of vacancy, and then you can apply 1,000 times. Okay. The fact that you failed once, there's no barrier, there's no restriction. Please apply as often as you can. And with the I hate those tests. With the psychometric, the person is probably talking about psychometric tests now. I think there's some books and there's some online stuff. I don't like them. I don't have to take them. So, but in terms of writing, what we before we used the competencies, but now we use what we call success profile. If people are struggling to complete or write the success profile, I'm more than happy to support. And I have a group of other colleagues as well that I have sort of coerced into saying we will help the community to, if we want to see more of Black people in the department, then we need to work with them. We need to support them in writing their application. Because trust me, writing civil service application is an art. Even I still struggle, but I know that at least I can find my way through.
We will definitely be taking you up on that. So
that's fine. And if you guys want like a workshop, we can do a workshop online. So
okay,
yeah,
all right, wonderful, thank you. The next question, somebody's asking about naturalization. So she's applied to naturalize as a British citizen. She was refused on the basis that she hadn't been here legally for 10 years. So she's asking, once the 10 years is up, what are the chances that she will then be given or she'll be allowed to naturalize as a British citizen on the 10 years? So I think what she's trying to say is that, will she be penalized because she's applied too early? Would they still say no again?
Well, if it's pretty straightforward. If she's been told that she was not granted because she applied too early, why would she want to apply too early again? So I would say just wait for the number of years you've been told. And also, please go back to gov.uk. It is clearly stated there what the requirements are for you to naturalize. Pretty straightforward. Okay. And if you're turned down, and for example, this person has been told that they applied too early, I would ask why would you want to apply again if you have not met that criteria? So wait. If you've waited this long, wait for the required number of years before you go ahead and apply.
And the legal would be from the point where they've been granted some sort of residency in the UK, or is it from the time when the authorities have got to know about them? Because I know that for some people, they may have been in the UK, but under some sort of restriction. So some people would have been signing on before they were given. So the temporary permit, because I know that sometimes is a problem. I've experienced it with people that I know that, say, for example, I'd been in the UK for 10 years, for 12 years. But for the first 2 years, or even for the first 3 years, they were under restriction, the temporary admitting people into the UK because they're signing on, if that makes sense. So that wouldn't be counted, would it?
No, I cannot answer that because I need to have a clear understanding. If possible, if the person wants to email me or email just, but like I said, all the information in terms of the, in terms of the requirements is on gov.uk. But yes, and I hear you clearly, maybe they've been signed. So the question really is the years of criteria. Does it kick in after they've been granted ILR or when they came into the country, right?
Okay, yeah.
That is the question.
Basically, yeah.
I would have to check on that because that is not that is not my area to so to speak.
Okay.
But I could always check. That's why I said I could always check and get back to the person. But if they have said, the person applied too early, then the person should be able to work it out from that to have a clear understanding of, or that letter would have been signed by someone to say, so when will I qualify? People are too scared to ask questions. You can ask, you can write and ask, you're entitled to ask questions. Okay. Write back to them and say, when will I qualify? What year would I qualify? Because I thought I qualified now. So if you're telling me that I've not stayed in the country long enough, could you please clarify when I will, when I should consider applying for my my citizenship? Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to some of the questions that you had before, and that's because you slightly touched on it already. And the question is to do with the Black Lives Matter. So It's not about Black Lives Matter to be specific, but it's something to do with what are the opportunities for Black and minority ethnic people working within the Home Office. I know that you've said that you on your own and with some people that you work with are happy to help. But what is the Home Office doing, as a body? What are they doing to make sure that there are people of, ethnic minorities who work with them, who are sitting at the table and making decisions that affect people in the grassroots? Because what happens is, sometimes, without being too controversial, is that people are making decisions without knowing how it feels to be at the receiving end of those. So what's the Home Office doing? Is there a policy? Is there, with recruitment, with, people who, say, for example, with the assessment test, if somebody isn't, if someone isn't smart enough or just doesn't get the test and doesn't have, people like you willing to help them, how is the Home Office helping with that?
Okay, first let me go back. Let me address the issue of the test. Now, it is not all the jobs in the Home Office that requires psychometric tests. So if you are required to pass a psychometric test, that is the basic requirement for that role. Now, if you are unable to pass, and that is open to discussion to say, but then I'm sorry, if that is for example, now, okay, I did science in school, but when it comes to psychometric, like I said earlier, I don't like it. So anything, when I was in junior grade, anything that had psychometric tests or more, you won't see me there. And also then for you to get to senior leadership role, you needed to do psychometric tests, but we don't do that anymore. But there are still some roles that require that analytical skills. So I'm sorry, if you don't have it, why should they? I don't care what the color of your skin is. Why should you be given that? So that is to do, and that psychometric test, everybody does it, right? Now, the people that will be at advantage would be people who studied in the UK. I found out that majority of us older generation, I'm over 50, who studied in Nigeria, when it comes to that psychometric testing, a lot of us were not, but for our children who went to university here, it is a baseline for competing with the other colleagues. So that I can't really and truly, that would not even be the question. But then the question that I want to answer is what the Home Office is doing. I have been in the Home Office, in civil service. I started my career from the days of Customs and Excise. For those who are old enough to know, Customs and Excise, we merged with Revenue. We became HMRC. HMRC, I moved to UKB. I moved to UKBA. UKBA, I became Border Force. Border Force, 3 years ago, I joined Immigration. Right now, it is a known fact that we don't have enough Black people at senior leadership role. At my grade, I think yesterday I was counting, and I think there are about 6 or 7 of us at my grade that are Black. In my grade, that are Black, right? The other ethnic minorities, but I'm specifically referring to as Black people. I think I counted it yesterday, and we all know each other. I think a name popped up that I'd never heard, so that would probably make it maybe 7 or 6 at the most. But I can confidently tell you that since the George Floyd and the Black Lives Matters happened, the department, in fact, across civil service, even in private sectors, are doing a lot to address the situation. Now, you see, my challenge is if we're not even there in the first place. Mm-hmm. You remember what I said at the beginning? You have to be at the table to take part in the discussion. You have to be at the party to enjoy the party now. If you're not part of the party, you cannot be, you can. So let's also bring these people in. Yes, and I hear you. The ones that are there now, the ones that are currently there. I mean, we in the last 3 weeks, a lot of things has been, happening in terms of engaging people and looking at how to support and to develop people. Right? We have a lot of programs going on, not the usual ones that we've been having before that has been yielding the same results, but we're looking at so many things to support those who want to, because don't forget, there's some people, and I have them. I mean, I remember that, I know that there's some people that I started with, and they're like, Yemisi Omo, because some grades, another thing, let me just clear this. You see, frontline officers earn how can I explain it? Because of the overtime and shift and things like that, there are times people stay at that lower grade because the money they earn, people in the office, right, would be maybe 2 grades for them to earn that money. So they're happy. They want to be there because of the pay. And the pay is as a result of the shift operation, what we call operation, the shift they do, sociable hours and all of that. So, and then weekend working, because when you compare somebody who does 9 to 5 to somebody who does more like 24/7, Saturday, Sunday. So they get extra pay. So some would say, you know what? And I know quite a few people who I have tried to push to say, you know what, are you looking at promotion? And oh no, let me see. And then some people, their family circumstances has stopped them from looking at promotion, because don't forget that the higher you go, the more responsibility. So some will look at it. It's not as if they're not capable, but their home situation does not or has not given them that opportunity to apply. So there are various reasons why people are not progressing, but trust me, there's a lot that is going on that have, and I was saying to a colleague of mine 2 days ago that George Floyd, it's a pity that the guy died, but a lot of us are going to benefit from it. Even when you look at private sectors as well, there's a young lady that I mentor. She called me 2 days ago and said, Auntie, guess what? She's the only Black person in the office. They gave her double promotion. Yes. But if she was not there, as if she wasn't working in that organization, would they go and drag somebody in and promote?
Yeah.
You understand? So I was wow. I said, so you're one of the beneficiaries of, George Floyd, as sad as it is. But obviously there's something good, positive coming out for a lot of people.
Thank you, Francis.
Sorry,
well.
Can I just
thank you for your, sorry.
Somebody wants to ask a question.
I will bring you in a moment. I'll bring you in a moment. And I'm saying that just because we have quite a few questions just before that, man. So if I can just ask 2 more questions from people who've been waiting from the start, and then I'll come back to you, Si, if that's okay. I'm really sorry about that, but I will come back to you in a moment. The first one is about asylum seekers. There are 2 questions. They're two in one, really. One's asking that she's an asylum seeker she's got children, and she's asking if she can invite her mum here to the UK, even though she's an asylum herself. And the second part of that question from somebody else, but to do with asylum as well, is can she send a child back to Africa? She said, she didn't say if it was the country that she's seeking asylum from. Can she send the child to Africa, to school in Africa, even though she herself and her child, they're asylum seekers? So those are the 2 questions.
Okay, I'll answer the last one first before I go to the first one. Yeah. Right. If you are saying to somebody that I am now, and rightly so, you said the person did not clarify if it is the country that they're fleeing from, that they're sent. So we need to know. If it is the country you're fleeing from, why would you want to send your child to a place that is not safe, supposedly safe for you? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, if it is not the country that the person is fleeing from, they would have to. Asylum is not an area that I'm familiar with, but there are some basic things that you don't even have to work in asylum for you to listen and say it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So number one, if it is a country that the person is fleeing from, then I will. It should be interesting. Because all of a sudden, except if that danger has been taken away and it is safe for your child to go. So yes, it is safe for you to go back to, right?
Yeah.
That's so. And if it is not the country that the person is fleeing from, the safety of the child, who's going to look after the cost, and all of that. But I would say to the person to please, gov.uk is very good. There's a group that Refugee Action, they would be able to support or advise the person. But to me, it is an interesting question. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Then the first one, if the person can invite her mom or his mom, right? The person needs to go and read about the rights, your rights, what you can do, what you cannot do. I mean, like I said, my asylum, I don't deal with asylum cases. It's very rusty, but the last time I checked, I think they couldn't work. I don't know if they're allowed to work now. So how are you going to, the first thing I'll say to the person is, please go and read the criteria for inviting someone into the UK. If you meet those criteria, then, does that make sense? Can you still hear me?
Yes.
So the first thing is, the person should go and read the criteria for inviting somebody into the UK, i.e. supporting the person and all of that. And if the person meets the criteria, then feel free. But I would also say, please go and read about what you're able to do and what you're unable to do as an asylum seeker. If you want to send me an email too, but I think it's a pretty straightforward thing.
Okay. There's another part of the asylum one, FGM, somebody who's applying on the basis of, with FGM having to do with the application and seeking asylum from the country that happened to them. How viable is a situation like that or an application like that? Seeking for asylum.
Actually, sorry, so I didn't hear the last part.
So
seeking for asylum based on. Is it seeking asylum based on what?
FGM, female genital mutilation.
Yeah, FGM. Yeah, I know FGM. Yeah. So they're seeking asylum. No, that's there's a process to follow. Okay. There is a process to follow to say, you're seeking asylum based on, because that is, fair for your life and maybe your child, because FGM should not be done on anyone. So if the person goes to again. In fact, there's some charities that will take the case up and help you, but you don't even need them. You can, go onto gov.uk and type in FGM and, seek for support, because there's support for people who genuinely are running away from or whose lives would be put at risk if they go back to their country, especially female, because of FGM. So I would say to the person that if the person Googles, in fact, before we finish now, if I Google, you see, I like people doing the work. I don't like doing, because even me, I am lazy. When it comes to information, I'm lazy. I would rather somebody gets that information for me, but I don't encourage that. So I would say to the person, please Google FGM, Home Office, support, and you will see a lot, and it will take you through the process. It can be daunting, so some of those charities, there are a lot of charities that are there that would actually hold the person's hand to help them through their application.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks. These are a lot of questions. Thank you so much. Okay. I know that somebody would like to ask a question. Can a member of the media team just unmute that person so that they can ask their question before we go on? But please continue to share this program just so that we can get the information out there, the correct information out there. That is quite useful to people, especially at this time. Hello. I'm not sure if that person's still online.
I can't hear.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Hello. I just want to say to contribute to things to what the speaker is saying when it comes to recruitment. What she's saying is quite right. But the problem you have within the civil service is that there's a bit of layback when it comes to promotion. There's a bit of layback when it comes to promotion. Right. Like you said, yes, if you get into a different operational role, the money might be better than a grade 7. The allowance, everything, when you calculate everything, the money might be better than a grade 7 or a grade 6. So you prefer to stay in your position where you are. Yeah, but when it comes to promotion, it's very, very rare. It takes longer. I've worked in DWP, I've worked in HMRC. Yeah, to get into home office is very, very competitive. It's extremely, very, very, very competitive. Yeah. So I will advise anybody who wants to do the test, you need to go online. Yeah, there's some BBC, there's some other areas where you can practice the test. I did the test for almost 6 or 7 times before I got through. Yeah, so you could go on BBC, you could go some other sites on the internet where you can continue to practice the test. Yeah, and 2, if you want to get into civil service, don't aim for a higher grade. Aim for a lower grade. Where you can That is what I did.
That is misconception. Yeah, finish. No, go on, finish.
I applied 15 times in the home office. They did not take one single application form. Even though I tried in DWP, they picked up me straight away. When I finished my probation, I applied in HMRC. I got this straight away. Till today, I've tried for the home office. It's not getting on through. So there's a lot of competition when it comes to the home office. I bet you if I open my civil service website for you, you will see there's a lot there. There's a lot of competition when it comes to the home office. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much.
It's quite okay. Yeah.
Do you want me to respond? Do you want me to sort of respond? You see, I want people to the misconception of having to come into the civil service from a low grade is something within our community. And when I went into civil service, with my degree, I went in as AA. And that was because the people around me, the same thing, this was way back in 1991. The people around me was, meanwhile, there's graduate scheme. Nobody told me about that. Some people even change their first name and start bearing, English name. My surname is English. Omo, you will call me Yemisi. And if I want to make your life hard, you call me Oluwa Yemisi. Right? Now, but what I did was I then said that for every grade that I knew I was not the right grade for me, I would do A, B, C, D. And to the glory of God, and I'm proud to say it, and to the glory of God, I achieved that target. In fact, I think when I became an executive officer, my manager looked at my CV and said, "You don't seem to hold down job for too long." And she jokingly asked me, she didn't know that she was challenging me. She jokingly asked me, "So when are you going to get your higher executive role?" And I said, "In the next 18 months. And I got it less than that. But it was hard work. I put myself out. I made sure that I did not just sit down and do the day-to-day job. I looked for opportunities, and don't get me wrong, it is not easy. And I say to people that, because of my personality as well, I was demanding. I was not asking. I was demanding for roles. I was demanding, and thank God, my managers, and I think maybe the way I presented it, they didn't have a choice but to support me in, doing those extra things at work. Now, I usually say because I mentor kids in my church, I go to INU, CNS, and I said to my girls and my boys that, you know what, I don't want you coming into civil service as AAAO. Omo, that time has gone. We paid the price. You will be coming in as HO or the least as executive officer. Anything lower than that, no. Okay, so please, let us remove that conception that we have to come in as AO or AA or, lower grade. No. We should be coming in at the least what they call executive officer. In operation, they call them IOs, right? Now, in terms of application to Home Office, now, because you see the application, the interesting thing is that now there's one civil service, one civil service hub for applying for jobs. If you apply for a job in Home Office, and if you remember, I said at the beginning that I don't even like our success profile. It's an art. You need to, there's a guide as well. But if you're struggling to come into Home Office, then you probably need to go back and look at maybe the roles that you're applying for, or look at what is it now? Look at the guide, which is what is called the success profile. The success profile is there to guide you to apply for the jobs. Okay, so please do not be discouraged in terms of Home Office. I have worked with young people who have come into Border Force. Now, let me quickly clarify this. You know that Home Office, people just say Home Office. Home Office is divided into, you have Border Force, you have the ones that really matter to people. You have Border Force, you have UKVI, and you have Immigration Enforcement. Right, there are other ones like NCA and criminal and other things, but those are the three. So I cannot stress enough that there is no difference from applying to HMRC and Home Office. Now, my brother that I just spoke, I do not know why he didn't get through to Home Office, but if you want to have a chat with me later, you can have a chat with me later if you're still interested in coming to the Home Office.
Okay, that's I'd take that up. That's wonderful. I hope that, I don't know who that person is, but I hope that they've sort of picked up the information. She's Ms. Jenkins is happy for you to contact her directly to get some support. And I think you also talked about a workshop anyway. So I think something like that might clear the air and give people the opportunity to learn how to go about it. Thank you so much. Because of our time, we would not be able to take any more questions at the moment. We're going to try to get through the questions that we already have. If we're not able to get to your question, we may be able to contact Ms. Jenkins to find out what the correct answer is, and then we'll come back to you with the answers. So we do apologize. We want to try to finish for 6:30 today. Thank you so much so far for staying with us still. Thank you, Ms. Jenkins, for such valuable information that you're giving to us.
You're welcome.
3 more questions. The first one is to do with somebody that's seeking asylum, or let's say people with limited leave to remain. So 2.5 years, I believe. Maybe it's a discretionary, or I don't know what they're called, but it's 2.5 years without recourse to public fund. And somebody who sought asylum in this country from an abusive partner, so domestic violence, but from Nigeria. The application has been granted. They have a refugee status or an asylum status. I don't know what it's called. What are the chances of them having recourse to public fund? So they don't have any recourse to public fund. Obviously, COVID-19 has affected a lot of people. They aren't able to work. And I know there was a message going, in fact, my mom sent me one. There's a message going around that was about a month ago saying that people can overturn or can change the terms. They can change the terms of their residency. So people that don't have recourse to public fund, there was a form going around saying that people could apply to the Home Office to have that restriction removed so that they can apply for recourse to public fund, or to have.
Okay. Are you still there? Okay. I see a lot of things on WhatsApp, and some I just laugh, and people are saying, "Oh, EMC, can you confirm if this is true or if this is false?" Now, from what you have said, and I think I read this out earlier, that there's a fund that has been provided to local authorities. So I would say to this person, now, one step back. Now, this thing about changing status due to COVID, I don't know about it. Right? as in changing from having restriction on the stay to having them taken off. I'm sorry, I don't know about it, but I could find out. So if you drop me an email about that, I could find out, but I am not aware. Now, what was the one I was going to answer first? Yes, the funds. There's some fund available to local councils in April. This was in April. This was due to, it was actually to support this was for homeless people, including those who do not have recourse to public fund, right? So I would ask that person to go first to, what do you call it now? To local authority. But being an asylum seeker, like I said, asylum is not something that I'm very familiar with. So if you drop me an email regarding that, I could find out and get back to you. But I don't know. But I would expect them to go to their local authority also.
Okay. I think you have talked about, so some of the questions you sort of treated even within the questions that we've already talked about. So we talked about the 10-year rule, 14-year rule, and what that is and how that applies to children. Somebody asked the question about...
No, I didn't talk about that for children. No. I talked about the 10-year for children that are born here for 10 years, that then, after 10 years, they automatically get their leave to their British passport. British passport, okay. Yes, that's for children at 10. Now, 14-year rule, I've heard that a lot, around such a long time. But what I know is that if you've been in the United Kingdom and you can prove, see, this is where people fall. If you can prove that you've been in the United Kingdom for 20 years, and it is, I need to add, it is at the discretion of the Home Office, but if you're able to prove that you've been in the country for 20 years, and it's also on Gov.uk, people can look at that.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much, Ma. The very last one from me is two people are asking this question. So people who have come to the UK on a visiting visa.
Yes.
I think you talked about it, but have to have treatment because they've fallen sick or, they have to have sort of long-term treatment. Are they able to extend or change their visa to a medical?
When they came, is it a pre-existing condition or it was when they got here that they noticed that they had it?
This is pre-existing.
So they had it before they came, right? So when they came, that was for visiting or for the medical reasons?
For visiting.
Okay. Now, if they're seeking to access the medicals here, the first thing is they have to pay, right? And if they're going to pay and then they show that they are able to pay, then all they need to do is say to the Home Office, well, because of COVID, they've been here and now they're seeking to have that treatment and they will be paying for it. And, obviously, whilst they're having that treatment, they will need an extension to their visa, because that was why I asked if it's a pre-existing condition, how come all of a sudden? But like you said, okay, they've been here. I mean, maybe the plan was for them to come on holiday, go back to their treatments in Nigeria, but because that can happen now, so they're here. Yeah, I would write to the Home Office. I would ask them to call and say, this is our situation. Yes, we want to seek treatment. We will be paying. And we're not, if you're going to pay for your medicals, that's fine. But please don't just take it for granted. Go and pay for, I'm not sure about that. I don't even think hospitals would accept without seeing whatever. But I would say, please inform the Home Office so that they can do the needful in terms of your visa and don't find yourself in murky waters after you have accessed your paid medical service.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Jenkins. That's the end of as much as we can take for now. We've still got a few more questions, but I think if it's okay with you, we can email you those questions. And
yeah, please go ahead.
When you get back to us, we will let people know about what the correct answers are. I'd like to thank everyone. I'd like to thank you especially for taking time out to answer questions today and to just enlighten us about, what the Home Office is doing. You've given out a lot of information to do with children, to do with adults, legalising their stay, the Windrush. It's been quite informative. We would like to have you back again at some point. We will let you know, and if it's okay, we will let everybody know as well when that date would be and what we'll be focusing on. Thank you so much. I think we've got 50 people or so still on at the moment. I've stayed on from the start up until now. And we're really grateful to everyone. At this point, I'd like to invite Evangelist Moses to give us... Are there any final comments before I go to that? Are there any final comments from you?
Yes, can I
interject just really quickly, Ms. Jenkins? Just to let everyone know, including those on Facebook and YouTube, please send your questions to us via our inbox on Facebook so we can reply to those questions when we get an answer from Ms. Jenkins. So inbox by Facebook or by our email at info@kingshouseoutreach.co.uk. And we'll get your answers to you if you do that. Thank you.
I'm going to, what do you call it? What do you call it now? The 1,000 vacancies in DWP, please. I'm going to send it to Prophet Ayo now. So please share it and encourage people. It's a 1-year contract. And I think if you're in London, is I think about 31,000. If you're outside London, something, can't remember what it is now. But please encourage as many people as possible to apply. And if people need help, and I'm sure the young man who said he works in DWP can maybe also support, if he's able, people who want, especially our young people that have just left. Yes, I've sent it to Prophet Ayo now, so he can, you guys can share it.
Thank you so much. We are really grateful. At this point, I'd like to invite Evangelist Moses to give us a closing prayer, please. Do we have Evangelist? Okay. Can we have Evangelist Senior give us a closing prayer, please?
Oh, Jehovah, Jesus Christ, Holy Saint Michael, Father, we thank you for this great gathering. Lord, accept all the thanks in Jesus' name. We thank you for the visionaire. We thank you for the time you have created for us to gather at this point. We thank you for the speaker, Sister Oluwayemisi. We thank you for the divine wisdom you have granted unto her. Lord, accept all the thanks in Jesus' name. We thank you for the love you have given unto her for humanity, for her to reach out. Father, accept all the thanks in Jesus' name. We pray that every word she has shared today, it will make a way for all of us in the mighty name of Jesus. Every of our heart desire, those are about to apply, those that have applied, I pray for mercy to speak concerning your application in the mighty name of Jesus. I pray for those that are planning to bring their parents, their families, even to this country. I pray the Lord will make a way for us. During this season, oh Lord, the Lord will continue to protect us. The Lord will continue to bless us in the mighty name of Jesus. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Amen. In Jesus' name. Thank you all so much. It's been a really good time to spend together to get some really good information. Please do share this program on social media. Let your friends know about it. Let your families know about it. Just because people need to have the right information so that we do not continue to fall into the wrong hands and to make the wrong decisions. I pray that the Lord would continue to guide us and He would continue to give us the wisdom to be able to do the right things. I thank you all. I hope you have a beautiful weekend. And we'll see you again next month at our next outreach program. God bless you all.
Thank you for having me. Have a good evening, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, Sister Eniton. I just want to announce that if there's anyone that needs maybe the information, I've sent it out. They can send their number through Sister Eniton so that we can add it the ministry contact number so that we can send the number out, so that we can send all those links out. If there's anyone that's want more information from the King's House, they can send their phone number through your personal phone number or sister needs. So you can call the number, because some people log from America and from Nigeria. So for people that need the information, so you can call the personal number out for them.
Okay, I'll do that straight away. Our telephone numbers are 074 594 32155. 074 594 32155. And the second number is 074 597 33341. 074 597 33341. Thank you all so much. God bless you. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for joining us. We will send that number via chat as well. Thank you so much, Ms. Jenkins. It's lovely to see you.
Sister Yemisi, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, thank you very much.
So when you want to the workshop for jobs,
so I will let you know.
Yes.
Yeah, I will contact you back concerning that.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.